And here you can see the ESPN site. Mr. Johnson fights under the name Jose Johnson. He's only won one fight since she was born, and that was in November of last year, November 18th of 2023.
There are no visits. He doesn't see her.
What rights and duties are you comfortable with dad having?
Court is operating under a temporary order in this matter from back in July. The court then went ahead and appointed Ms. Lambert as ad litem in this matter to help with the circumstances, the special circumstance that the father is a UFC fighter and that the income information was sketchy at best. So at this time, I'll note for the record, I see that Ms. Campbell's present, that Ms. Lambert's present, and Ms. Nichols is present for the state. Has Mr. Johnson here?
No. Judge, the state has no further evidence to present as to the paternity of the child's last name, and the geographic restriction. However, the temporary orders do address conservatorship and state that currently the father only has the right to pay child support until further order of the court. So we'd like to reevaluate rights and duties of conservatorship. Also reevaluate possession and access to see what orders would be appropriate now after the temporary orders. The state does want to reevaluate Mr. Johnson's gross monthly resources. Ms. Lambert will testify as to her findings regarding dad's work and dad's income. The state also has some exhibits to present as well. Medical support will likely remain the same. And the state would like to address retroactive support today, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Lambert.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm in alignment with Ms. Nichols' recitation of what we're seeking to do today. We are hoping to finalize the temporary order. On behalf of my client, I'm not opposed with conservatorship, the previous findings, nor visitation access remaining as is. My primary job was to confirm whether dad was in fact a UFC fighter. I believe child support in the temporary order was based off of his earnings as a physical trainer. I was able to confirm that he is in fact a flyweight UFC fighter, averaging between $10,000 to $30,000 per fight, and he has approximately 1 to 2 fights per year on average. And so asking that income be included on top of what was already established as his occupation as an athletic trainer. I have not had any contact directly with the father. He has resisted any potential cooperation in this case, not returning calls, emails, etc., not responding to correspondence. And so ultimately, Your Honor, I'm just asking for a final order regarding all of the terms previously listed by Ms. Nichols and ask for a reevaluation of the current child support in this case.
All right, then. Okay, good enough then. Let's see about that. I'll see if you got any information specifically on whether or not you got proof that is there any proof that he's actually doing those fights or who he might be fighting, so forth and so on, ma'am?
It looks like, Your Honor, his most recent fight was on June 15th of this year. He did lose that fight, but that was his most recent. And before that, it was November 18th of last year. And then before that, August 12th last year.
It's fighting on my mom's birthday. Love that. But anyway, go ahead and, yeah, so it sounds like that may be 2 times a year. So we'll figure out what that is. Ms. Campbell, here's the thing. I did that on the temporary order as far as conservatorship, that sort of thing. But I've been reminded that the circumstances is that this is a gentleman that says he doesn't want to have anything to do with the child. Unfortunately, that's probably not sufficient enough for me not to order some type of conservatorship, and not sufficient for me to set up break-in visits and so forth and so on. Because technically, he's still a parent. He still has parental rights. And for me to take those away, I've got to have some really strong evidence that that's in the child's best interest. And I did not appoint Ms. Lambert as the person to investigate that. I'm only trying to find out what this gentleman's earning. And because I don't think there's been contact or anything like that. So, but I'll see what your testimony is as far as that's concerned. But the bottom line is I still got to make him dad. So we got to figure out how much of a dad I'm going to make it under the court order. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and ask Ms. Campbell to raise your right hand, ma'am. Ma'am, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give here today is the truth, the whole truth, and that but the truth will help you?
Yes.
All right, ma'am, you're officially under oath. I'm gonna go ahead and allow the state to proceed and call you as a witness, and we'll take it from there. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Did you say that Ms. Lambert's going to go first?
No, I'm sorry. I was going to let you go first, Mr. Nichols. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Is it okay if we allow Ms. Lambert to go first? Because
Not a problem. You can waive
she has
your...
some other duties in the court today, so.
All right, no problem then. I'll let Ms. Lambert go first, and then we'll let the state go last. You know, hey, believe me, I've been in enough jury trials to know that as the respondent, I went first, about 80% of the time, okay? So yeah, that an old lawyer trick, yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Campbell, will you state your first and last name for the record, please?
My name is Alexis Campbell.
Ma'am, you're cracking up kind of on me. Is she cracking up on y'all, or is that me?
No, Your Honor. There's been a lag or a delay.
All right, Ms. Campbell, go ahead and turn off your video, and we'll just go with the audio, okay? Maybe that'll help with the bandwidth, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. You may proceed now. Thank you.
Ms. Campbell, will you state your first and last name for the record?
Alexis Campbell.
And who are you in relation to the child in this case?
I'm Alexandria's mother.
And how old is Alexandria?
She is 11 months.
And who is Alexandria's father?
Zacharies Johnson.
And to the best of your knowledge, ma'am, what does Mr. Johnson do for a living?
He is a UFC fighter, and he also does personal training, like MMA training and Taekwondo training. And
to the best of your knowledge, how long has he been a UFC fighter?
Since I've met him, so in February of 2023, that's when I met him and conceived our daughter. So since then, that's what I know. But if you look online, he's been fighting for a while.
And when you say that he's a UFC fighter, have you ever seen any of his fights firsthand?
Yes, so we would watch them on ESPN because he fights before like the main card fights. He is I guess they call them the pre-show fights, pre-main card fights. He fights on ESPN, ESPN Plus, and yeah, you can just pull it up on the TV.
And to the best of your knowledge, approximately how many fights would Mr. Johnson be in per year?
About 1 to 2 fights every year.
And do you know how much he averaged in payment per fight? So
he did tell me that when he does win fights, he gets about $30,000. I also Googled if he loses a fight.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, here's the deal. You can testify to what he said, but you can't testify to what Google said. Okay, that's still
okay.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Google has not been known to be 100% right all the time. All right.
Okay. So, but yeah. So what he told me when he wins, he gets about $30,000.
Okay.
Per fight.
Yeah. And did he say what he gets if he participates in the fight but does not win?
He didn't tell me that part.
Okay. And then for his training, you stated that he'd been UFC fighting since about February 2023. To the best of your knowledge, had he been training since that time as well?
Yes.
Okay. And where does Mr. Johnson currently reside?
So just recently he moved from Nolanville, Texas to Washington. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name. Palaluma, maybe Washington. That is currently where he resides because he no longer, him and his current fiance have uprooted their lives from Texas to move to Washington.
And the city that he lives in near Washington, is that pretty close to Tacoma?
Yes.
Okay. And is he currently employed?
Yes, he is. He is employed with Wave Combat Sports.
And what kind of work does he do there?
He is a trainer there. He does the MMA, jiu-jitsu, taekwondo training at Wave Combat Sports in Washington. It's in Tacoma. Yes,
Okay.
that was sorry.
How many other biological children does Mr. Johnson have?
7.
And is he court ordered to pay child support for any of those 7 children?
I'm not sure about the other 7, but for me, he is. I know that some of the other moms are trying to get their cases going, but for as far as I know, just Alexandria is who he's on paper responsible for.
Okay. And from the time that Alexandria was born until the time of the temporary order, did Mr. Johnson give you any money directly for her care?
No.
And are you requesting retroactive child support?
Yes.
Who currently has health insurance for her?
So I do. She has had Medicaid since she's been born. So she's still under the Medicaid health insurance because she hasn't turned 1 yet. So yeah, it's under me.
Is there anything additional that you believe the court needs to know regarding Mr. Johnson's finances in order for the judge to rule on an appropriate guideline child support amount?
No, sir. No, ma'am. Other than, he fights and that's really all that I know at the time.
Your Honor, I don't have any further questions for Ms. Campbell at this time.
All right, thank you. Ms. Nichols, you're a witness.
No cross-examination, but I will call Ms. Campbell as a witness. And yes. Ms. Lambert, if Ms. Lambert would like to be excused, I don't know if you want to do that, Ms. Lambert, but request a court permission for that.
Your Honor, I do have another hearing if it's possible. However, if you would like me to stay, I can make it work.
All right. Well, do you have any? I got some evidence here. Is any of this evidence yours?
I'm not sure what you have, Your Honor. I do have a screenshot showing Mr. Johnson on the ESPN website and the list of his fights from 2016 until 2024 of this year.
I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and share that screenshot. Let's see if we can get that in as evidence, and I'll have you reduce that to a PDF and send it in as evidence as ad item 1, okay?
So, Your Honor, here you can see the ESPN site. Mr. Johnson fights under the name Jose Johnson and the list of his fights from 2016 until current.
All right, ad item 1 is admitted. And Ms. Campbell, if you need to go, Ms. Lambert, if you need to go, you can go ahead and go at this point. The only other thing I asked, were you able to find anything that shows what his winnings or losing amounts were for any of these, ma'am?
I could not find anything regarding what he takes home if he loses.
Okay, only if he wins. All
yes,
right.
Your Honor.
And how many of those? Okay, and since the child is born, you know how many of those he's actually won? Does it say that?
It looks like he's only won 1 fight since she was born, and that was in November of last year, November 18th of 2023.
And how much? And that's the $30,000 amount? Yes,
Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you for the info, and you may proceed at this time, Ms. Nichols, calling Ms. Campbell as a witness, and you can treat her as your own witness, and that way you can lead and do whatever is necessary, anything you think is necessary. All right, and
okay.
And Ms. Campbell, you have a problem with Ms. Lambert being excused at this time?
No, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Lambert. Good luck on wherever you're going. All right.
Thank you.
All right. All right. You may proceed, Ms. Nichols.
Okay, Ms. Campbell.
Yes.
I know Ms. Lambert just talked to you about some money issues, and we're going to get back to that. How have visits been going between dad and your child?
There are no visits. He doesn't see her, and he has stated multiple times, or especially like when she was born, that he wants like no contact with her. He doesn't want any pictures or anything to do with her. So he hasn't seen her or anything, talked to her, anything.
How many times, if any, has he seen his daughter since she was born?
0.
What rights and duties are you comfortable with dad having?
Judge Nelson, Your Honor, has told me that that he has to have something So I personally don't want him to have anything, but he hasn't been abusive or anything like that towards me or my daughter. So the bare minimum of what he can have is what I would want. Just because my daughter is very particular, and I just feel like I give her the best care. I give her the best care, and I just don't think like he will be up to taking care of her the way that she needs to be taken care of. Considering like she's very like extremely allergic to like some products, and I just don't think that he would take those obligations seriously as a mother or as I do. So I just would give him the bare minimum of whatever we can give him, just give him the bare minimum.
What is your daughter allergic to? What are her special needs?
So all of the Huggy products, Huggy diapers, wipes, anything Huggy, she had a allergic reaction to them, and I had to take her to the emergency room, and they told me it was the ingredients, the active ingredients in the Huggy products that were making her break out. So I switched all of her diapers. I threw all the other Huggy diapers out. I had to go to the store and buy completely organic, like 100% cotton diapers, organic wipes. She has organic formula, and it's very, very expensive. And I just don't think he would, obligate to those needs of hers, because just based off of him just not wanting to be present, I just don't think he would take all of her accommodations into consideration when he does have her. So I just can't even risk like my daughter's health or anything like that, like with her being with him.
What other concerns do you have about dad having full rights and duties?
That's really it. Like, I just don't think he's a fit parent. He doesn't show.
That's a little bit. Okay, here's the deal, ma'am. You can testify to facts, but you can't testify to speculation. Okay.
Okay.
That's something to show he cannot be a fit parent. He's already been declared not to be a fit parent in another case, or he's been found to be abusive in another case, or endangered children in another case. Everything. I can only take into consideration the facts of the circumstances. And if he's just being a jerk toward not being responsible for his daughter, then that's one thing. But again, you can't speculate on what unless you've got some type of evidence of what that is. All right, thank you.
Okay. So yeah, then there's nothing.
Okay. What does dad do for work?
Zacharies is a UFC fighter, and he is a personal trainer or athletic personal trainer.
What is his alias?
His name is Jose Johnson.
You said he works as a personal trainer. Do you have any personal knowledge as to how much he makes as a trainer?
I don't have that information. I don't have that information.
And where is he living right now?
He lives in Paloma. I'm not sure how to pronounce that city, but it's in Washington.
What major city would that be? Would that be near?
It's close to Tacoma.
Okay. Judge, at this time, the state is going to move to admit States Exhibit 1, which is a Bureau of Labor Statistics report for the Seattle-Tacoma area in Washington. And I did send that to the court.
I've got it. Second. Okay. Go ahead and mark it as States 1.
So I'll go ahead and show you here. So we have chapter 299091, athletic trainers. The annual mean wage for an athletic trainer in the Tacoma, Seattle area is $59,710 yearly.
All right, what's the low amount? What's the lowest that somebody like this usually earns, please?
Well, let me go ahead. Let me see if I can. So the percentile here for athletic trainers, it's going to be the lowest 10% is $43,180.
Okay, So if he falls into the lower 10%, he makes at least $43K a year. And that's the one I'm going to use based on the fact he's also probably trained as a fighter. So yeah. So he's probably doing both these things part-time, but we'll go ahead and use that as the amount at this time.
Okay.
You may proceed. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Campbell, how do you know that Mr. Johnson lives in Washington and works as a trainer in Washington?
So I have seen with my own eyes that his social media and that he has moved from Nolanville, Texas to Washington. And then also the gym that I've stated to you guys, the Wave Combat Sports gym in Washington, has posted that, you know, he is there and available all over their social medias you can come in and train with Jose Johnson at the Wave gym in Tacoma, Washington.
Thank you.
Can you repeat to the court, how is your child insured?
She has Medicaid.
What other sources of health or dental insurance are accessible to you?
So I can put her under my medical insurance when it reopens, because I do work for KISD. But I didn't do that because when I did try to add her on there, my total went from $100 to about $600 for health insurance. So I just decided to keep her on the Medicaid, just to keep her with the same doctors and the people that she sees, you know, for her shots and things like that. So I didn't want to switch up anything.
Is the health insurance you have through work, is that financially accessible to you? Can you afford that?
No. I only make $1,100 because I am just a teacher's aide. Not quite a teacher yet, but yeah, I just make $1,100 and we only get paid once a month.
To your knowledge, what other sources of health or dental insurance are available to Mr. Johnson?
I'm not sure.
When is your daughter's birthday?
Her birthday is November 10th, 2023. Or that's the day she was born. Yes.
I know you told the attorney I lied on this, but what support has Mr. Johnson provided to you since your daughter's birth?
Nothing.
What was Mr. Johnson doing for work when she was born?
He was still fighting and training.
Okay, he was a UFC fighter and then also a trainer.
Yes.
To your knowledge, has he had a break in that employment since the time your daughter was born to now? Has he always done training and UFC fighting?
Yes.
When your daughter was born, where was he living?
In Nolanville, Texas, at Freedom Circle. It was the address that was on his profile before. I can't remember the physical, but I know it was Freedom Circle, Nolanville, Texas.
And how do you know what he was doing for work at that time?
Because a couple days after she was born, he fought on ESPN, and we watched it. We watched it together. Not we didn't, me and him, but me and my family watched him fight on ESPN. The November 16th fight, she was only 6 days old. So
when did he move to Tacoma?
July 25th.
Of what year?
Of 2024, this year.
And how do you know that that's when he moved?
So he posted on his social media that he had moved. And then I also did, well, yeah, he just posted on his social media that he moved.
Judge, at this time, the state is going to move to admit State Exhibit 4, which is the Bureau of Labor Statistics wage report for the Killeen Temple area. where Mr. Johnson was living before he moved to Washington.
All right, ma'am, I'm on a state, you want to make this state's exhibit number 4, you said?
Yes, that's correct. Or I'm so sorry, that would be state's exhibit number 2.
All right, stage 2. All right, ma'am, any objection to stage 2 coming evidence at this time?
No, sir.
All right, it is admitted. You may proceed, Ms. Nichols.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen with you too. Let me just pull it up. Okay, Judge, I'm going to share my screen with you right here.
All right.
Okay, this is state's exhibit number 2. You can see here, let me scroll up and show you. This is the May 2023 reporting. So, to my knowledge, it's the latest reporting that we have for the Killeen Temple area, which is close to Nolanville. And let me show you right here, athletic trainer. The median wage is $62,300, and we can look at the lower wage. So the 10th percentile is the same. It's $43,180. Okay. Okay. Let me go ahead. Oh. Okay. And Miss Campbell?
Yes.
How much per year was Mr. Johnson making as a UFC fighter? Not a trainer, but a UFC fighter.
I'm not 100% sure of that number, but I do know he made about, when he did win that one fight, he got about $30,000.
What about when he loses a fight?
So I
go ahead and testify to it, ma'am. If someone's told you, if you think you know, go ahead and testify to it. No one's
okay.
So go ahead.
So when he loses a fight, he gets about $10,000 or $11,000 when he loses the fight.
And how many fights does he do per year?
So 1 to 2 fights a year.
And the one he had earlier this year, he lost, and the one he had last year, he won, correct?
Yes. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. And I'm sorry, with that fight he had in November, was that before the child was born or after the child was born?
After she was born.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'll pass the witness and the state rests.
All right, at this time, I'll go ahead and ask Ms. Campbell, is there anything else you think I need to know at this point, ma'am?
No, sir.
All right, so this time I'll ask the state for a closing to tell the court what the state's requesting we do here, and I am going to look at naming the mother's sole manager conservators, but based on the testimony I have here, I can do. I'm going to name Dad possessory and give him all the rights in the possessory conservatorship that he's entitled to. It's up to him to go ahead and use those rights, but obviously he's still the father, and I've got to give him parental rights unless there is a legal reason where the court shouldn't have to do it. Well, but I can't find that at this point. So with that in mind, sole MC, possessory, and I'll rule on the visitation package I'll come up with in a moment. But with that in mind, I'll let the state proceed to their closing and tell the court what the state's requesting. Thank you.
Okay. So, Judge, like I stated earlier, the temporary order established paternity, established the last name of the child, and established no geographic limitations. So the state has no further evidence to present as to those 3 issues.
All right.
Regarding conservatorship, you essentially just ruled sole managing conservatorship, which is fine. The current visitation and access schedule is that dad has visitation with the child from 1:00 p.m. to 5:00 p.m. on the first and third Saturdays of the month. Those visits can take place at mom's house, and they are supervised, and dad must give 72 hours notice. So the current schedule is that 1 to 5, first and third Saturday, supervised, 72 hours notice. Whether the court wants to modify that or not, that's that's up to you.
All right, well, the court's going forward is going to go with the graduated visitation schedule, where dad has to do visits with mom being present for 4 hours. Then he gets to have the child by himself for 4 hours. Then he gets to have the child by himself for 8 hours. And then he gets to have the child by himself for a single overnight. And then he gets to standard visitation. So I'm looking at doing a graduated schedule, but I'm going to make him do 8 at the first level. And then I'm gonna make him do 8 at all the levels. I usually only do 4, but this gentleman doesn't appear like he's gonna do anything. He hasn't done anything. But based on the fact it may take him a while, and he's definitely out of state at this point, I'm still gonna go ahead and order the graduated schedule, but I'm ordering him to do every level at 8 visits each before he gets to get to a standard possession order.
Okay. The state also requests that the amount dad's gross monthly income and the amount of child support change based on new evidence. So mother testified that dad he works as a UFC fighter. He does about 1 to 2 fights a year. If he wins a fight, it's 30,000. If he loses a fight, it's 10,000. So for a UFC fighter, the state suggests.
Hello?
Mr. Jones, we're in a hearing. Please remain silent. Thank you.
Oh, yes, sir.
So for the UFC fighter, the state suggests a number of $40,000 a year. If he does 2 fights and he wins one, that's 30. If he loses one, it's 10. So 40 seems like a good number.
No, I think the testimony is he's only won 1 fight. He's had about 8, so I'm not sure if I can get you there, ma'am. So, but go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. And then with regard to his salary as a trainer, both the Bureau of Labor Statistics report shows that in both the Tacoma, Seattle area and the Killeen Temple area, it's about $43,000 a year. So the state recommends whatever the court finds to be his salary as a trainer, whether it's 30,000 or whatever, plus that $43,000 that he makes as a trainer, to be his gross yearly income.
All right. Here's that over the last 1 year time frame, which I'll normally look at in these cases anyway. It looks like he's won 1 and he's lost 1. So let's go ahead and make that overall amount he's earned as a fighter at $40,000 for the year, and so we'll average we'll average that out, that $40,000 for the year, and average out over a monthly basis for to figure out the child support on that. And I'm looking at ordering him. So I'm looking at 40,000. Yeah, he did 40,000 last year overall, and so at this point, I'm probably looking at just looking at that 20,000, average 20,000. I'm sorry, the judges. I'm thinking on my feet here, and I'm not thinking well and fast on it. So let's see. So he earned 40,000 over a 1 year time frame. So spread that for spread. Okay, so he made 40,000 as a fighter. He makes about 43,000 as a trainer. So his entire salary over the last year. So you can have you average that out for the 12 months what it is. So it's 80,000 some change. So let's go ahead and use that as the amount this year, because he actually did win that fight within the last 12 months. So I'm going to go ahead and include it then. All right.
Okay, sorry. So it's going to be 40,000 for his work as a UFC fighter, and then 43,000 as his work for a trainer.
Correct.
So that would make his yearly salary $83,000 divided by 12. That is $6,916.67.
All right. Now, again, the mom's not too sure about. She's sure about him having 7 other kids. Good Lord. But not that she doesn't think that they've been declared or he has to pay child support for all of them yet. But without any other proof other than that, then I just need to go ahead and look at and give him credit for those other. And ma'am, is that 7 including your daughter or 7 plus your daughter?
7 plus my daughter.
Oh God. Okay, so we got to give him credit for those other 7. Then let's go and give him credit for the other 7 in your calculations. All right.
Okay. So that's for current support. Regarding medical support, mother testified that she does not have access to private health insurance, and she doesn't know whether dad has access either. So the state requests the child be placed on government medical services, and the dad make a cash medical reimbursement to the state of at least $60
All right,
monthly.
that I'll grant up top and tell me what the amount is, but I'm not sure where the heck that is on the chart, because that didn't come up very often as a judge or a lawyer. One in, seven out. So yeah.
I mean, we have a number we typically use, and based on his gross monthly income, it would be higher. But let me say if I divide that by, I don't know, let's say if I divide that by 8, no, that's $39 monthly. So we could do that, or a higher number is also okay, but I don't know what the court finds to be appropriate.
Okay, well, again, the amount the state's requesting for cash medical, that's fine. I just need to figure out what you're asking for as far as the final child support in this case, with giving them credit for one child, in this case, 7 out, and giving them credit for the cash medical. And you said repayment, that was $64. I'm sorry, I didn't get that down.
Well, we can do we can do $39 monthly because he has other children. So let's just use that number.
All right.
And give me 1 second, please. Let me give you the number for current support then. Okay, with 7 other children, that comes out to a monthly child support obligation, giving him credit for the $39 medical support. It is $716 monthly.
All right, and I'll go ahead and ask, and since that's the amount for the whole year, and the child's is 1 year anniversary is coming up next month, so let's go ahead and use that 12-month time frame at that same amount for retro, please.
Okay, now we typically for retroactive don't give the father credit for that medical support payment, since he was not ordered to make a medical support.
All right,
so
it's not gonna make that much of a difference. It's probably like $2, but go ahead. So
it's $721. It's $721 without the credit. Okay, so do we want to use that number for retro?
Go ahead and use that $721 for retro, not a problem.
And that would be times 11 months.
Yeah, because I'm sorry, I was going to go ahead and give the credit for the child being born in November, but I can't. It has to be December, so that's time 11 months. You're correct.
Okay, let me give you a recommendation for a payment plan on that amount.
All right, what's the total? 11 months times 716.
It is $7,931.
Okay. And 50 plus interest on that is about 75. Go ahead and make the repayment 75 on that, please.
Repaid at 75. Okay.
Man, all right. All right, so I'm looking at child support starting the first day of November at $716 a month.
Yeah, let me just
cash medical at 39. Retro judgment $7,931, and repayment of that at 75. All payments start the first day of November of this year on these items. All right. Mom's sole managing, dad's joint. I'm sorry, the dad's possessory. He has all the rights under possessory conservatorship. I'll do the break-in visits where dad has to complete every visit before he moves up. But again, with him being in Washington, that's going to be problematic. The only other thing is I'm going to go ahead and order mom to be, because of the distance, I'm not going to put her on app close. That's just be a waste of her time. However, if the father does wish to have electronic visits with the child starting after the child is of the age of 3, I'll grant those starting at the age of 3, and I'll grant him electronic visits every Sunday at 6 p.m. Central Time, but he has to give mom at least 72 hours advance notice that he's going to go ahead and ask for the visitation electronically. And like I said, 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday to 6:30 on Sunday, and with him giving her 72 hours advance notice that he wants electronic visits, but those don't start till the child is 3 years old, because a 1-year-old baby doesn't it's not capable of even a 5-minute phone conversation, electronic conversation. So that's what the court will order as far as that's concerned. But again, man, it's up to him to do something about this. I'm giving him all the rights because by law I have to, but it doesn't sound like he's going to take advantage of it. So it is what it is.
Okay.
All right. So, and what else are you asking for at this time, Ms. Nichols? Thank you.
nothing further, but I want to get a clarification about your ruling for the visitation.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's 8 visits on the first and third Saturdays from 1 to 5. Are we continuing that?
Yes, ma'am. First 35th Saturdays from 1 to 5, and all visits, whether in-person visits, he also has to give 72 hours advance notice that he's going to have those visits. Okay.
Okay, so 8 first, third, and fifth Saturdays, 1 to 5,
Correct.
supervised.
Supervised.
And then the next 8, it's the same schedule but unsupervised.
Correct. For 4 hours. Yeah.
For 4, okay. And then we have another 8 visits, I'm sorry, or do we move to overnight at that point?
No, we moved another 8. The first 8, he has the child for 4 hours, picks the child up at 1, returns the child at 5. Next step up after that, he picks the child up at 9 a.m. and returns the child at 5, getting going all day. And then after that level, the final level is he picks the child up at 6 p.m. on Saturday, returns the child at 6 p.m. on Sunday, and he has to do that 8 times before he moves to the standing possession order.
So 6 p.m. Saturday to 6 p.m. Sunday for 8 visits.
Yes,
and then after that, it's SPO.
Yes.
Okay. And when the child turns 3 years old, he has Sunday electronic visits from 6 p.m. to 6:30 Central Time. Correct?
Correct.
And is that on app close or not?
No, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and make it at just regular FaceTime, whatever electronic. Ma'am, you got an iPhone?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go. Either we can do it as FaceTime on iPhone, but if he's on an Android device, then y'all can do it on Facebook or WhatsApp, whatever one is that y'all agree on. If not, if y'all can't come to agreement, I'll make it on WhatsApp. Okay.
Okay.
And then,
and like I say, all visitations live or online, he has to give mom 72 hours advance notice. And he has your phone number, correct, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
All right. And going forward, you'll have to keep him informed of at least your cell phone number going forward, ma'am. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
And then, Judge, I want to have one last question. Our pickup and drop off, will that always be at mom's house?
Yeah. Yeah, he's the one that left Texas. It's on him now. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I don't think I have any further questions.
Yeah, so he's the one that left Clean ISD, and since the judge is partially a product of Clean ISD, yeah, he's stuck with that. So.
Okay.
Ma'am, you say you work for KISD, or which district you work for?
Yes, sir. I am currently at Harker Heights High School.
Okay. Well, like I said, the judge, I'm from Belton, but somebody named Dr. Ellison insists that my mother, who was a teacher in Killeen, bring me to Killeen ISD when I was in the 3rd grade. So yeah, so it is what it is. When the name high schools after you, I guess you can tell people what to do. So
right.
So yeah. Anyway, I'll start with again. I'll go back to you, Ms. Nichols, and then I'll go over to the mom. Any other questions, ma'am?
No.
No, sir.
All right, Ms. Campbell. Anything else?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. If y'all need any further clarifications after you start going through the minutia in this one, come back and let me know. But I think that covers everything. And again, it's ma'am, I've got to give him those rights, but it's up to him to be a dad. And it doesn't sound like to me at this point he wants to be one. So we'll just order child support, and hopefully the state can send out a way I'm sorry, ma'am. Which company does he work for as a fighter?
So he works. He fights or trains at Wave Combat Sports.
That I know, but as far as being a fighter, who does he work for? Who does he fight for?
I'm not sure. I just know he just is a UFC fighter, and he fights in the flyweight.
I'm not sure if the UFC is something by itself, but he actually works as a UFC fighter, and that's an independent entity. Obviously, they fight here in Texas sometimes too. So hopefully the state can send out a waive withholding order, and they'll start taking money out of his winnings. So we'll see.
Okay.
All right. All right. Thank you both. Thank you both very much. And anything else final? One more time, Ms. Nichols. Anything else?
No, but Miss Campbell, I'm going to move you into a breakout room and talk to you there, okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank y'all. We're off the record. Good luck, ma'am.
Thank you.